One of the big questions that you probably ask yourself over and over and over again is, does my marketing work? Did my marketing work? Because when push comes to shove, you want to know if your time and money and resources were well spent on said marketing. And I've done lots of videos at this point about KPIs, which are key performance indicators, and tracking your metrics. But today, I want to focus in on how you can decide if your marketing campaigns are worth it. Hi, my name is Taylor, and I'm one of the founders here at Enji, and I am a small business marketing consultant turned tech founder. And in this video, I want to walk you through how I set up a campaign, how I set targets, how I track my metrics, and then how I analyze it all to understand whether or not my marketing campaign was worth it. Now I'm here in my Enji account on the campaign tab, and what you can see are some of the example campaigns that I've got set up on this dashboard, as well as all of the marketing campaign templates over on the right-hand side of the screen. But what I want to dig through today is this example of a holiday sales campaign. And so I just want to walk you through how I set things up so that by the time that it was done, I could actually be in a position to analyze how it did for me. And I want to stress that it's really hard to figure out whether or not a marketing campaign worked if you're not documenting these things. Because when it's just like a mishmash of ideas and feelings that you have in your head and in your body, you're going to convince yourself that it probably did better than it did because there wasn't a hard documented, this was my target. Did I meet it or not? It just basically creates a situation where you can, talk your way out of things and make excuses. So it's always good to put things down on paper. Now, what you can see here in the campaign is the date range. And then you can see here, because it's already done, I gave it a grade and I said, this one did pretty okay. But you can see underneath that is that I've got the list of tasks that I did in order to make sure that the campaign actually happened. You can see the goals that it was related to, and these are coming from my strategy as well as just sort of additional goals that I've set. So I wanted to increase my sales and revenue as a part of my marketing strategy. But for this one, I was also looking to get a little bit more out of each transaction or sale. Then you can see down here the marketing channels that I focused on. So email marketing and social media. And then this is where the magic really starts to happen, is in this metrics section, where I typically refer to this as your targets. So I set a target for sales as $5,500, and you can see that I tracked that and I actually got 4,800. And then also my goal was to also get 4 new clients out of it. But in this example, I got 3. Then after that, there's a section here where I decided this is my budget for this marketing campaign. I put it at $500. I spent a little bit more than the $500, but that's okay. And then we get down here to the notes section. And this is where I want you to document and kind of leave yourself breadcrumbs, where you want to do, it's a terrible phrase, but it's called a postmortem. It's what we use in marketing. I'm sorry, I need to come up with something else. But this is where you can come and leave all of your notes. Like after the campaign has finished and you've given it an overall grade, what went well about the campaign? What didn't go well? What are your ideas and thoughts about how you could do things better? And so when you're sitting down to do this sort of post-marketing campaign performance analysis, I want you to go back and look at a few things. First off, I want you to think, okay, my overall goal was to increase my sales and revenue, and that influences what you set as your targets. Then the next thing I want you to look at is, okay, remind yourself, where did you go and do these things? Where did you promote this campaign? And so here, okay, email marketing and social media. So before I sit down and start typing thoughts about what I think went well, what didn't, all that kind of stuff, I would go into my email marketing platform and look at the individual like performance and insights on the newsletters or the sequence that I sent out as a part of this campaign. And I do the same thing with the pieces of content that I published on social media as a part of this campaign, and look individually, how did those things do? Because then you can come and remind yourself, okay, overall, I actually came pretty close to my sales target. And, I didn't do terribly with, actually, I would say I did pretty good with the booking 3 new clients as sort of a latent effect of pushing on my holiday sales campaign. And okay, yeah, so I spent a little bit more on the ads than I wanted, but it's $90, so it's not the end of the world. So once you are sitting down with that knowledge of, okay, I reminded myself of my goals, my targets, where I was doing my marketing, I looked specifically at the platforms and those deeper analytics in terms of how each piece of content did. Then you can sit down and just kind of think about, where are these things crossing? Where are they intersecting in the good or bad column? Maybe it's better to think of it as a quadrant, like things that went well, things that didn't. But, for this example, the things that I noted down are that the ad costs went over budget, but the ad was getting good impressions, so I chose to let it run a little bit longer. So that's not a bad thing. But then I didn't have any partners that could support the promotion because everyone was busy with their own holiday promotions. And so that, to me, my future self, next time I sit down to do a campaign like this, would think, okay, I either need to reach out to potential partners a lot earlier, or I need to think of ways that I could make this campaign more successful without having any promotional partners. Then the next note that I left here is that the upsell didn't take as much as we had hoped, and that the feedback was that the price point of that upsell was just a little bit too high when paired onto the actual offer that I was promoting. So again, in the future, as I'm thinking of, okay, holiday season, 2024 or 2025, I have a better idea of what people are willing to spend with me during this sort of campaign. And so I can plan things out to fall within that amount of money that people are probably most likely to be comfortable spending. And then the last note here was, after looking at my email newsletters and the sequences that I had, that the open rates were a little bit lower than the general newsletters that I send out on average. And so my future self should revisit the subject lines. And so I know that there's not a cut and dry way for you to decide whether or not a marketing campaign was worth it. I mean, if you are looking for the simplest way, you can say, did I go over budget? Yes or no. Did I hit my targets? Yes or no. And that can be this very straightforward way that you judge the effectiveness of a marketing campaign. But if you're trying to get better at this over time, doing this exercise of using the note section to really think more deeply about what went well, what didn't go well, what could you do better next time, is how you accomplish that. So that's how I approach planning out marketing campaigns, how I set targets and how I track things. And then sort of that, like, I'm going to sit down and think about, how do I feel about this campaign and how it went? And then what are the numbers telling me? And then doing my analysis here within my marketing campaign. So my advice to you is to go back and take a few minutes to dive into, how did your last marketing campaign go? And I would love to know, how did your last marketing campaign go for your business? And if there's anything that you're like, Taylor, how would you interpret what I'm looking at in terms of, did this do well for me? How could I maybe do things differently? Please feel free to drop your questions in the comments. And overall, good luck on your next marketing campaign.